Okay, so I am excited to be talking to you guys today. Today we're going to be talking about when I'm implementing an adrenal fatigue recovery program, if there's a genetic component, how does that change the protocol? So that was a question that I got the other day. And I think a lot of people have that question because they are suffering with an exhaustion problem, a fatigue problem, not being able to focus problem, crashing in the middle of the day. They don't handle stress the same way. They have a lot of anxiety, heart palpitations. They have pot-like symptoms when they stand up. They get lightheaded, shaky, dizzy. They can't focus. They have brain fog. They can't recall words. They don't remember where they placed their wallet. They don't fall asleep right away. They don't get up feeling rejuvenated and rested, and they wake up several times to the night. There's no motivation, and the libido's in the tank. Does that sound like you? If that sounds like you, then chances are you are doing a lot of different things to get your health back. You've done saliva testing, you've gone to different doctors, you've seen the endocrinologist, they say there's no such thing as adrenal fatigue, or you're working with a naturopath doctor and they've put you on adrenal supplements and you're not moving the needle and you're not getting better. And now you're wondering, well, maybe there's something out there that I'm missing. My name is Dr. Joel Rosen. I am the Adrenal Fatigue Recovery Ninja, and today I'm going to talk to you about what that missing component is, and that's called the genetic component. So when someone asks me, what if there's a genetic component, how does the program differ? How does the protocol differ if there's an adrenal component that has a genetic component? And the answer I would give to you is there's always a genetic component. There is always a genetic component, right? Because you are biochemistry 101. You have mitochondria, you have cell organelles, you have cell membranes, you use oxygen, you breathe, you have waste products, you produce ATP. That is a genetically predispositioned phenomena. It is. You're going to have that no matter what. And then through evolution and through adaptation, your body has programmed genes that are more beneficial for survival and deleted genes that weren't able to procreate because they weren't advantageous. It's called evolution if you believe in that, but that's what it's called. And your body is always evolving. And unfortunately, what's happening is we have a toxic world, an environment at a faster rate than our body has learned how to evolve. And we're seeing chronic illness at pandemic levels because of the fact that our adaptation, which was good for the hundreds of thousands of years, in the last 20 years or 50 years or so, it's just skyrocketed in terms of calling on your detox pathways because of all chemicals and environmental toxins and pesticides and sprays and medications that are in our water and plasticizers and BPAs and all of these things that are really impacting your genetic susceptibilities. And when our adrenals are charged with the responsibility of maintaining homeostasis and being able to deal with stressors, the environment is one big stressor. From the air you breathe, the food you eat, the water you drink, to the thoughts that you have, to the physical demands that are placed on your body, to the endless to-do lists, to the relationship and financial issues. It's all impacting your body's ability to maintain homeostasis and survive, which calls on your genetics. So there's always a genetic component. Hopefully I explained that well enough to you. So when we talk about a genetic component, then how does that change your protocol? Well, number one, understanding that it has to be involved in every protocol, number one. If you are not doing a genetic test, then you are not doing a real program. You're not. And if your doctor doesn't believe in it or doesn't understand it, then that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And it goes deeper than just MTHFR. And it's not just about getting off of folic acid and taking methylated vitamins. It goes much deeper than that. So many people I work with take methylated vitamins and it makes them anxious. So there's a glutamate component in there. There is a oxidative stress component in there. There is a hormone balancing, neurotransmitter producing, immune system quenching, fire reducing genetic components in there. And those are the major things that I see. So number one, how does it differ from the traditional protocol if you have a genetic component? The answer, ask a better question. You always have a genetic component. Number two, make sure that you take a genetic test. Ancestry.com is okay. 23andme.com is even worse than okay. And the reason it's not as great as it should be is because they are going towards more pharmacokinetics, which means, hey, Mrs. Jones, this drug is the best drug for you. That drug is the worst drug for you. We're going that direction. And when you go an alternative holistic approach, you want to know what are the best epigenetic variables that will help you get better, meaning what are the best foods, what are best nutrients, what are the best lifestyle changes, not what are the best drugs. So 23andMe doesn't have my endorsement on that. There is a lot of value, and if you've already done a 23andMe, then certainly a practitioner who's worth their weight in knowledge will be able to upload that to their data crunching machines and be able to look at it and give you really, really important insights. So that's number one. Well, number two, right? Number one is asking a better question and understanding that there's always a genetic component. Number two is making sure that you get a proper genetic test. We are using what's called Functional Genomic Analysis. You have to be a licensed practitioner to have an account with them. And they have what's called a research institute. And what they do is they upload all of the database into one pool, and then they can start seeing the percentage of people in that database that have no copies, 1 copy, or 2 copy. No copies mean that mom and dad passed you down a perfectly working enzyme that replenishes and regenerates itself perfectly. 1 copy means that there is some challenges with that regeneration process, almost like a photocopy machine. For usually every 10 photocopy machines that you make, 6 or 7 may be generated. That's a rough estimate. That may not even be true. And then sometimes even for every 10 copies that you make, 12 or 13 or 14 photocopies may happen, and that gene is actually upregulated or working too fast, which can produce a whole bunch of problems as well. And then you also have the 2 copies, which for both parents gave you an altered, efficient working gene. And for every photocopy that you do, instead of 10 copies coming out, 2 or 3 come out. And that would be a problem, right? Because if that enzyme is important for making antioxidants and you have low-grade inflammation, that's a problem. Or if that enzyme is important for triggering an immune response and you have an immune system challenge, that's a problem. Or if that enzyme is necessary for making neurotransmitters and you have to have a neurotransmitter response because you live in a world that requires a stress response, that's going to be a problem. So really, really important to get a proper genetic test. So far summarizing, understanding it's always a component. Number 2, getting the proper genetic test. And then number 3 is implementing the epigenetic overlapping perfect storms. So what does that mean? That means that sometimes what happens is more often than not, the stress of your life, inflammation sources, chemical exposures, traumas, physical, emotional, psychological, infections, all of those things are going to be unique to you. Maybe you have 1 of them, maybe you have 2 of them, maybe you have 5 of them. But what's going to happen is those things are going to perfectly overlap with the enzymes that your parents gave you the DNA for replicating that aren't working at full capacity, that are impacted by those environmental triggers, creating a perfect storm. So I'll repeat that. Mom and dad pass you down genes that help repair and regenerate enzymes. They may not be working at full capacities. Those enzymes are important for making energy and doing things in the body like detoxing, fighting off infections, signaling the immune system, making hormones, making neurotransmitters, making B vitamins, making energy, doing things for your body to handle stressors. And when you have the specific or particular stressors that slow down specific enzymes that are already not working well to begin with in the first place, now you have the perfect storm. Hopefully that made sense. So that's really important too. You need to understand, where are these perfect storms? Like mold can be a major perfect storm. heavy metal silver amalgams, or AKA mercury, lead, aluminum, cadmium. All of those can be perfect storms. Phthalates and BPAs can be perfect storms. Even taking medications, cholestyramine, those can be major perfect storms. Hormones can be perfect storms. So all of those things can be major perfect storms. And then last but not least is really putting it all together. So being able to understand what's the priority. How do I go about fixing this? What are the first things that I need to do first? And that's really putting it on a hierarchy system, right? Because if you have an oxygen problem and you're not breathing properly, that's more important than food, right? If you have a hydration problem, that's more important than food, but not as important as oxygen. So it really comes down to prioritization. And then the last thing I would also say is understanding where is it that you want to go? Because having ambivalence about where is it that you want to go is going to be like going for a drive and not knowing where your destination is. So those are the things that either way, whether you don't think there's a genetic component or not, you need to do. So let's summarize all of them. Number one was asking a better question, realizing there's always a genetic component. Number two is making sure that you do the proper testing. Number three is understanding what the perfect storm is with the epigenetic overlapping environmental triggers. Number four is putting it all together. And number five is knowing where you want to go. So hopefully that made a lot of sense to you guys. My name is Dr. Joel Rosen. I do consults with you. There's no charge. There's no obligation. The only thing that I ask is you be completely decisive with knowing that this is something you want to get your life back with, because you're missing out in life. You're on the sidelines. You're not enjoying your family. You're not able to do the things that you love to do. You're not able to work at your full capacity. You're spending thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, not getting better. And you're just seeing the life pass you by, and you know that there's something that you need to do right now. That has to be you. Don't be kicking tires thinking, I don't think it's that bad. If it's not that bad, then we're not a good fit. Number two is you have to be coachable. You have to realize that it's not a perfect magic bullet solution. There's going to be challenges in our recovery protocols, and you have to be willing to step up to the table and give me feedback and realize it's not a perfect storm. And you have to be willing to do the work and implement the things that we have to do, even though it's going to be hard. And last but not least, you have to be resourceful. We don't take insurance. If we're a good fit, we'll tell you down to the dollar what it's going to be involved. But the people that I work with have already spent tens of thousands of dollars on this already, and they realize that the small investment that they have in their getting better is a drop in the water to what the cost of them not getting better is. If those three things sound like you, then sign up for my consultation. You can be found at thetruthaboutadrenalfatigue.com /apply, thetruthaboutadrenalfatigue.com /apply. And I look forward to ending your adrenal fatigue nightmare. Have a great day.